Dear aquarist, dear fish keeper, today we are already at our case 108, and it's about the Zebra-danio. Zebra-danios is a common species that many people keep in their aquarium, and we have to share here a fish that is suffering from a very interesting mix of infections. And it's an interesting mix of parasitic infections. So something worthwhile to notice that this really teaches us a lesson what can be exist as a disease problem in our ornamental aquarium fish. Well, here the zebrafish, you see them swimming and in the aquarium, and you see once in a while some of the fish were getting dark, skinny, getting weak, and then slowly die after being wasting away. You can see they will not be eating anymore. The other ones still look pretty okay. Here in the back is another skinny one. But every day a few were dying and were getting skinny and dark. So there was a problem. And some had less parasitic infection. Well, but that's why I tell you, we will show you the parasites. And some were stronger and might survive. But the typical thing we found quickly in our examination when we took some of the gill rays out, we see here all larvae of worms. These are metacercaria, which are encapsulated, but taken away healthy gill tissue. Look, from this gill part, hardly anything is left. It's only majorly encapsulated parasites because the tissue of the gills is used to encapsulate, to defend the fish against the worm. It's a reaction on this larvae that is coming to the fish by feeding live food or living in water areas where there is larvae penetrating into the fish and making an infection. Here you see again those encapsulated metacercaria, and here we see the video that they're still alive. So eventually, when the Zebra-dania would be eaten by a bird or be eaten by a fish, the worm can develop to a full-grown adult worm and can start reproducing and become full active in a cycle. So it's part the fish is an intermediate host. He is carrying this larvae to pass it on into the next fish or bird. That's usually what happens. At the same time, we found in the intestine nematodes, which look like capillaria. Here we see the video of the worms which are moving around in the intestine. So that's parasite number 2 we found inside. And we also see here some eggs. Here the eggs, typical eggs, which are inside this capillaria. And that's how they reproduce in the aquarium. The eggs are expelled with the droppings, with the excrements, and then they float again in the aquarium and might be eaten by the fish, and so they reinfect the fish again, the other fish in the aquarium. Here we see the eggs, some of them that you can find in the excrements sometimes, and then you can identify that your fish might have this worm nematode capillaria infection. At the same time, we found some tubercles here and here in the organs. This is part of the liver next to the intestines. So not so nice to see tubercles because this might be mycobacterium. Also in the gallbladder, we found a nematode, which is very unusual. It's beautiful to see it on screen, but the gallbladder, pancreas, was infiltrated by a nematode, infected, so will not be working well. We also found in the kidney some inclusions, some little particles inside. So we go in larger magnification, it looks like crystals. Crystals might be due to a history of treatment or water conditions. There's many reasons could be that these crystals develop, and that might bring a risk that the kidneys are not working properly. See here, more crystals in the gill tissue. So what can we supposedly suggest for giving as a treatment? Well, that's not easy. The first thing you can do is tell the supplier or the shop or the breeder that this fish is in a terrible condition And that really should be taken care of because the breeder can take action to avoid this kind of poor quality. Well, the worm larvae in the gills cannot be treated. The nematodes can be treated. The tubercles is a big question. The crystals we don't know, so it's a terrible history. The first thing we can do is remove the very weak fish and put them asleep with Narcomore Plus, which is a tranquilizer from Macquarie Munster. The encapsulated larvae, like I said, which are in the gills, they are encapsulated and no medication can reach there, so you cannot do anything about it. The nematodes, on the other hand, can be treated with anti-worm medication. And so the fish which are still swimming around and still look pretty well conditioned might have very little encapsulated larvae in the gills, but might have nematodes, which you can kill by using that medication. And maybe afterwards you need an antibacterial treatment because that might be a secondary problem. At the same time, we recommend that you feed with our Dr. BASSLEER BIOFISH FOOD PUMPKIN, which helps the control of worm infections like capillaria. But feed at least that food for 20 to 30 days and do not feed other food. You want to have more info on prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of fish disease? Well, you have my books, two kinds of books which are available in different languages, and you can find them on my website, which is listed here. Thank you for watching, and maybe you join me on my Patreon to become an expert in fish keeping and to get your training specialized on fish diseases and diagnosis and treatment. So I thank you for watching and enjoy your hobby by becoming a better fish care and fish keeper. Thank you.